station owner in Florida put up a sign asking customers not to warm their urine in the microwave.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Who does that? I just use a saucepan, over a medium flame.
Why does anybody
I'm not sure.
in a Grizzly
I'm not
Adams
sure.
survivor situation
Again,
need to warm
I'm not sure.
his or her own urine?
So, for the fifth time, I'm not sure. That sometimes we do things on this show that they're just beyond
They
me.
stretch credibility, right?
Well,
do you believe this headline came from somewhere?
Florida Man Friday, which is a staple on my podcast, and stories from Florida are always insane. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Eagles fall below 500, Mike Tomlin lets loose, and the rookie quarterbacks go 4-0. But we begin today with the Kansas City Chiefs, who passed their biggest test of the season so far. They shredded the #1 NFL defense of Jacksonville and won 30-14 to get to 5-0 for the second straight year. Last year's Chiefs followed their 5-0 with 1-6. But that team had Alex Smith at quarterback. This team has Pat Mahomes. Wilbon, has this year's team convinced you it will not slide?
Yes. And I realize that's irrational. Yes. They've convinced me. I don't believe anything after 5 games, not even in a 16-game season. I don't believe in 5 games after a college season, which goes 12 games, maybe 13 if you make the playoffs. No, I don't usually believe in anybody this soon. But Mahomes, Tony.
Yeah.
This one, he goes against the top-ranked defense. He's on the road. He passed a test at Denver against a division, just a blood rival. Then he comes back and does this. I know he's got the Patriots sitting on deck. I get that, and that's the biggest test. And maybe a week from now, I'll be backsliding. But
so let me go to that, because on Sunday night, in what should be the highest-rated Sunday night game of the season, you have Kansas City at New England.
Yeah.
You know what New England is, and you're waiting to see what Kansas City is. So by Sunday night, early Monday morning, we're going to know a lot more about both teams. My reticence about this is not about Pat Mahomes.
What is it, the defense?
No,
they played well yesterday.
It's the recent history of Andy Reid's teams there, when they always start fast and they always end slowly. Now, to get to Mahomes for a second, and we both think Mahomes is great.
Real deal. Real deal.
Okay. For the first time yesterday, he was intercepted. He hadn't been intercepted in 4 games. He was intercepted twice.
That's right.
For the first time yesterday, after throwing 14 touchdown passes in 4 games, he did not throw any touchdown passes. We say this a lot here. I know I do. The other team studies film, too, and they pay their coaches, and they stay up all night.
But here's the
deal. They stay up all night.
He threw 2 picks. He didn't have any touchdowns, and they still won easily.
That's right. That's right.
This is part of what convinced me. Anybody can win if they're throwing 5 touchdown passes and no picks. They look perfect. He was not perfect yesterday. He led them. I liked a couple of times they showed him in the huddle, and he was getting in guys' faces. He's 22, 23 years old. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
And if I were to do power rankings right now.
1.
No.
2.
2. Rams 1. Rams 1.
I'm with
2,
you.
because he's young.
Okay, so you got the Kool-Aid at least up to your lips?
Yes, much like
down
this
the
team.
hatch, baby.
Much like this team.
Down the hatch. That silence you hear in Philadelphia is panic after the Eagles lost at home to the Vikings to drop to 2-3 on the season. It's been 20 years since the Eagles went 5 games into a season without at least one scoring 24 points. And it's impossible not to notice that Carson Wentz has been sacked 12 times and hit 27 times in just 3 games. Tony, 2-3 is hardly the end of the world. But do the Eagles' issues like Wentz's recovery from knee surgery seem temporary, or do the Eagles have something big to worry about?
So I'm gonna go to the side of temporary, and I'm going to explain it this way, because the division they're in is terrible. Okay, the Cowboys are terrible. The Giants are terrible.
Redskins, we don't know.
If the Redskins lose tonight in New Orleans, the Eagles are right there. The problem the Eagles have had so far is that they're passing. He's hit so much because they pass so much.
Throw the ball exclusively. It's crazy.
So now it is being suggested that the loss of the offensive coordinator and the loss of the quarterbacks coach to coaching positions on other teams may have had a very important effect right now. I think Doug Peterson's great on offense, but it is also possible he hasn't been as hands-on as he should be.
Yeah, but he hasn't been great on offense. Because even a couple of running backs pointed out that even though they are short of running backs right now, that's sort of depleted. They were averaging nearly 5 yards a carry yesterday, and he doesn't run the ball.
That's what I'm getting at.
That's his job.
So I'm saying that he should be more hands-on and realize that they run the ball better than just passing the ball 45 times.
But he's as hands-on as they can get.
I don't know.
And he's not. I'm not going to use the word failing because it's 2-3. But so far, at least yesterday, he wasn't noticing. And what he's doing is he's putting his quarterback coming off that knee surgery into harm's way more frequently.
What is disturbing
times.
to me is who they've beaten. They've beaten Atlanta and Indianapolis. These are just one-win teams.
Yeah.
They have lost, let me go to the glasses, to Tampa Bay, Tennessee, and Minnesota, who are all multiple-win teams. I think it's possible, Mike, and I'll go to the Chicago Cubs for a second. It's not the Cubs. It's not 100 years. But Philadelphia had never won the Super Bowl.
I understand what you're saying.
This was a big deal. There could be a Super Bowl hangover. There was a victory tour. This was a big deal for that city. And we, I think, are watching this now.
I mean, the Capitals are going to fall on their faces, too. They're
well,
pretty good right now.
After winning 7-0, they managed to lose 7-6 in the next game. The Pittsburgh Steelers had their best game of the season, beating Atlanta 41-17. Ben Roethlisberger hit Antonio Brown for 2 touchdowns and 101 yards. James Conner had 110 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. Not everything was smooth. Mike Tomlin was barking about roughing calls.
Yeah.
Wilbon, which was the biggest story for you? Big Ben and Antonio Brown getting the Wi-Fi right, Tomlin yapping, or the Falcons losing?
I don't care at all about Tomlin and what he says. I've gotten to the point now where I just ignore all NFL coaches and what they say.
Really?
Because there's no Bill Walsh out there. There's no John Madden.
McVay may be that guy.
McVay. I'm talking about also at the mic. When he comes in, he has control. He has control of his memory of the game, what happened in the game, what's going to happen in next week's game, all his players, all your players. None of these dudes is Bill Walsh. So I don't give a damn what any of them says.
Well, one of them is, but he chooses not to speak in New England.
Hoodie.
Yeah.
He chooses not to.
That's right.
So, so over dinner, you can get him to explain some stuff if you want.
Not to me.
I care about getting the Wi-Fi right.
Yeah.
I mean, Big Ben, I always say to you, because you mentioned Hall of Fame quarterbacks, we talk about that on this show, and I always say to you, Tony, you keep leaving out Big Ben. And you always go,
No, he'll be in.
Ben Roethlisberger is a great quarterback in this league now.
That's right.
And if he and Antonio Brown are hooking up and the Wi-Fi is good, the Steelers are going to be good.
Just as a follow-up to that, if I were a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would hate Le'Veon Bell. That he has announced that he'll show up in 4 weeks or 5 weeks.
Other dude's running the ball fairly well right now.
But hadn't been for a couple of games. Had a very good game.
He's spotty.
My biggest takeaway here is Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons, unlike the Philadelphia Eagles, they're in a good division. They got New Orleans. Yeah. They got Carolina.
Tampa's not bad.
They look like they're done. They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They've got Julio Jones. They've got running backs. Is it possible that the loss of Kyle Shanahan is so profound that they can't recover? Because if I'm not mistaken, their coach is a defensive guy, and this is an offensive league. And Dan Quinn might be getting ready to say goodbye because they've fallen down.
They've fallen down. This does not surprise you in this league. You see people bounce all the time.
Steelers don't bounce. New England doesn't bounce.
Steelers just bounced last week.
No, they were not 1 and 4.
Whole season.
They were not 1 and 4.
So you're declaring them well, Dr. Kornheiser. Steelers all cured according to you.
No, but better than Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta looks done to me.
It looks sort of iffy. Big day for rookie quarterbacks, Tom. The 4 rooks selected at the top of the most recent draft, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and Josh Rosen, all started yesterday, all won. Together, though, they completed just 50% of their passes, and Mayfield carried that load. Only Rosen, who was 10 for 25, was playing on the road. All right, Tony, these are going to be the guys you slurp for the next 10 years. You love quarterbacks so much. So which one of them impressed you the most?
First of all, not all of them are going to be slurped for the next 10 years because it doesn't work that way. It just
all
doesn't.
4 of these guys can't rise to the top?
They can, but it's unlikely that all 4 will. Okay. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield for the simple reason that he looks like a leader. And when you look at the huddle and the teammates around him and the sideline and the linemen and the backs around him, they know he's the one. There's no question in their minds. He led them to the winning drive this time. I believe Cleveland actually should be 5-0. I mean, if they had kicking problems and a terrible spot a week ago, I think Baker Mayfield, I'm not saying he's the best.
Right.
I'm saying that Baker Mayfield has come into this league, and all of that arrogance that you pointed out when he was in college is being harnessed in the right way as a leader of players.
That's what I wanted to see, because I wasn't drinking that Kool-Aid from the beginning of the meal. I wanted to see it. And so we see a lot of it now.
342 yards against a good defense.
I'm not looking at the yards, Tony. The yards are phony sometimes. I just thought Baker Mayfield, as you suggested, was in control. Now, it's easier to be in control of a team that hasn't won in 50 years because the Browns hadn't won squat.
That's right.
Okay, at least the other teams, the Jets hadn't been great real recently, but it hadn't been forever and a day.
Yeah,
and the Buffalo Bills were 9-7 last year.
Yeah.
And what's the other rookie team? Who did I leave out? Arizona, they got guys in the Arizona locker room in the huddle who've had some success.
Let me point this out.
The Cleveland Browns better listen up to Baker Mayfield.
Josh Rosen, to point this out, and now I think that Sam Bradford is deactivated, the former overall #1.
Unbelievable.
Josh Rosen, in the first half alone, had 5 flat dropped passes that would have accumulated over 100 yards.
Yeah.
So he looked good.
Yeah.
His stats belied the fact that how good he looked.
They won the game, though.
The Sunday night game was an intramural one, Dallas at Houston. Not much of a show, really.
No, it was terrible.
But in overtime, with a 4th and 1 on the Houston 42, Jason Garrett decided to punt instead of handing the ball to Ezekiel Elliott. Not everybody was thrilled, including Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, who said, and I quote, "It's time for risk at that particular time," unquote. Wilbon, did Garrett make the right call?
Not according to his owner, which is really
important.
So last night, I'm not going to stay around to watch the post game of a Cowboys-Texans game. But late, I just logged on. I wanted to find out what Jerry had to say, and I saw that same quote. That was part of a larger quote you just mentioned. I was like, ouch.
Yeah.
Jerry was annoyed. I found it annoying a little bit, a small A on annoying. Because the punt did pin Houston back to its own 10. And they put together a drive, and yes, they won the game. But I thought that Garrett's reasoning, at the time I'm going, why don't you go for it? They're on the road. He wanted to pin them back. It had been a low-scoring defensive game. I understood it on that intellectual level, but it seems to have been the wrong call.
There is a statistic that I know you have ready about when Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott are on the
4th and 1
field together, 4th and 1. 18 out of 19.
18 of 19 times the Cowboys have
So
made it.
I don't like this gesture of
eat. Let's everybody eat.
Okay.
Every sport they do that now.
But Ezekiel
guys in golf make a putt and start doing this.
Ezekiel Elliott can get one. Dak Prescott can get one. Sean McVay in a situation on 4th and 1 in his own territory. Sean McVay was going to put the punter out. Pete Carroll called time. Sean McVay gave the ball to Jared Goff.
He was ahead.
The Tom Brady sneak.
He did.
I mean, if you can't make one, what are you doing?
The other side of the argument you mentioned already. You've got Dak Prescott. You've got Ezekiel Elliott. You've got those two guys to get you the 1 yard.
I'm going to tell you something
But if they had done that and been stoned,
what happened?
Then Jerry would have been whining to the same reporters an hour later.
Frank Reich called for it, and it didn't work. Okay.
Right.
I'm just going to say this. You expect more from the Dallas Cowboys.
Why?
They have a higher standard, even though they never win.
Are they
He's been
good?
there 9 years.
You do this. You fall for this all the time.
Let's take a break.
Every year.
Up, your boy Mason Crosby.
Oh, yeah, my boy.
Missed 5 kicks yesterday.
The Packers lost.
Does he deserve all the blame for the Packers loss?
No, there's enough to go around. And after all the drama on Saturday night, does Conor McGregor deserve a rematch? This is what you missed. This was the best story of the weekend.
Did you watch the fight?
NFL be damned.
You didn't watch the fight. You watched postgame.
I don't need to watch the fight. The postgame's a story.
Just watch the postgame.
The postgame.
You watch the
fight. That's all it is.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by Domino's. Order online and track your order.
This is actually under your budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you move in, Geico could help you save on renter's insurance.
Yep, Geico helped me with renter's insurance, too.
The walls seem a bit thin.
They are, and Craig practices the accordion every night.
Says the guy who sings karaoke by himself.
I'm a very shy singer.
You're tone deaf!
Yeah, shall we move on to the next one?
It's a great building. You'll love it here.
We have mixers every Thursday.
Geico. It's easy to switch and save on homeowners and renters insurance.
Domino's delivery drivers are experts at handling bad roads. But those roads shouldn't ruin your pizza when you carry out. So we're doing something about them.